Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? A little while ago, I made a video entitled something like, hey Ivan, what do you think role-playing really is? And that video was the truth, but it was also a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and the circumstances, around it made it so. However, I wanted to go back to that a little bit and talk about like how I really play. Because, while I believe everything I said in that video, although maybe I wouldn't have said it quite the way I said it in that video, and although you can look at my channel and you see me talking about like in-character play and all that kind of stuff, if you watch my channel and you watch me play with other people, if you watch other people's channels where I'm playing on them, you can see me playing in a variety of different ways. So what's up with that? How do I actually really play RPGs? Well, the answer is, well, it depends. And it depends on circumstances. There's probably a bunch of little videos I should make surrounding this because I don't want this to be a mammoth video, but there is a way that I naturally gravitate towards playing as a player and as a game master. They are not necessarily the same. And I believe, the older I get, the more that I watch people, the more that I've thought about the hobby, watched the hobby, participated in the hobby. I believe that, various people tend to gravitate towards things that feel right for them, whatever they happen to be. But, how do I really play? Well, it depends. First, like, who am I playing with? Do we have a stated intention for play or not? Or are we just getting together to play a game? What game are we playing? And why are we playing it? Are we playing it to learn it? You can certainly see videos on my channel and other people's channels where we are intentionally learning the game in front of the camera. Playing the game, having fun doing that, but also like, what does this actually look like when we stop? Okay, we have to look up a rule. Do we really know how this works? And you can see that happening in The Veil, in Circle of Hands, in Dark Age of Man, in Blade Runner, in Aliens. Trying to think of some other games that we played where we're kind of learning them as we're going on. Other games I played, and we're not doing that. We're just simply going down there and to play them. And actually, if you want to be 100% accurate, I'm like learning to play Call of Cthulhu, but Anthony isn't, so I'm just playing in the game that he's running, and I'm playing a little bit of catch up, and every once in a while having to ask a rules clarification question. But for the most part, I want to have that experience, so I'm playing it for a particular reason. Other times, I'm playing with different people. Let's see what else. Does the game itself influence how I play or how the group plays? Some games really don't influence how I play. Other games have procedures in them that influence how I play in a particular manner. And when I get together with a group of people, all various people with various intentions and, whatever, sometimes these games affect how we play, sometimes they don't. Or it affects different people in different ways, and there's a group dynamic that goes on. As far as the group dynamic is concerned, I much prefer to find out what the group dynamic is going to be. And, where do we all land? As we're playing, how does the group end up interacting with one another rather than trying to dictate and enforce a play style in the beginning. However, having said that, session 0 is very, very helpful where you can talk about these things. And sometimes you find out that you have to play different games with different people for different intentions and different reasons. There's people you can play this kind of game with, and there's people you can play that kind of game with because they don't like these kind of games or your intentions clash too much. Sometimes you just have to bow out of certain games that you're not going to enjoy or let other people bow out. And I had a friend bow out of Circle of Hands because he realized as we were talking, I don't think I'm going to want to play the ways you guys want to play this. Other times, I have friends that are really into tactical miniatures games. And I'm not talking about like, role-playing games. I'm talking about skirmish miniatures games. And, I tell them like, guys, have a good time. Tell me when the conversation comes back towards something that I care about. I'm out. There's nothing wrong with those games. They just don't do anything for me, or they don't do anything for me right now. So I bow out of those games and out of those discussions. I might look at them from the periphery, but just really isn't doing it for me. So, I'm out. But to me, like one of the biggest things that happens, and it's not the only thing by any means, is the dynamic of the human beings around the table. For the most part, like real play, healthy play, doesn't occur at conventions. It occurs with friends. Whether we're around a physical table or whether we're around a virtual table. I want to play with people that I like, that I enjoy playing with, that I just like, enjoy hanging out with. That goes a long way. And because of that, sometimes there are compromises to how play actually ends up happening. My friend Jason actually made a great video about this a little while ago, and I'm going to say things differently the way he said it, but it's the same basic spirit. We can talk to each other or just know each other well enough to know, do we have the same intention for play? Can we realize different intentions for play or different, play styles at the same table at the same time? Are there points where the activity of the other players, do those activities or the way they play interfere with my intention? Is the way that I'm playing going to interfere with their intention? Sometimes we have to talk about that. Sometimes, we have to compromise a little bit or decide, okay, well, I'm going to play with this person. They're going to play in this manner, because that's how they naturally play. And maybe it doesn't bring me exactly where I want to go, but it's close enough for government work, and I'm going to alter my expectations for this game session or this campaign or whatever based on that. Or are there times when we really need to talk about that? And I've had to stop or in between sessions talk to one of the players and said, hey, listen, when you refer to this group of combatants that were, or people that were encountering an enemy of sorts, when you're referring to them in game terms as a particular type of enemy, that brings me right out of my immersion. Please just call them what they are in the imagined situation. That will really help me out. And we've had to have those kind of discussions. Not that they were doing anything wrong, but it was messing with my experience to the point where I needed to say something. And we get to talk to each other, talk with the players. Play the right game, talk with the players, be a part of the solution, the Holy Trinity. And when we're playing too, sometimes there are certain ways that I like to play. I prefer to say I about my character. I prefer, for reasons that really are better in another video, to have the other players say hi or I, I, when they're referring to their characters, when I'm a game master, for reasons that, it's bigger than the scope of this video. But, how are we communicating about that? Outside of talking about it in between sessions and at session 0, are we stopping everything? Are we finding that it's just going to completely blow it for us? Or are we doing some mirroring and matching? Am I constantly saying you back to them if they're talking about their character in the third person? That sort of thing. So it depends. It really depends on the group of people that I'm playing with, what the intentions for play are, how they all play. Does it, am I willing to play a little bit differently because that's this group dynamic? And, the addition or subtraction of one person can have a huge impact on that group dynamic. And, I'm sure you've had it happen in your groups. You can watch it happen in mine. You can watch, just depending on the pairings, on the groupings, it does play look a little bit differently. And you start to notice that this happens. And not only do they bring something different to the experience, but I notice that the other players and I start to act a little bit differently when they're there and when they're not there, and which is really, really fascinating. The alchemy of play, of which this is just a small part, is really quite fascinating. And that's a term I did not make up. It's a term my friend Anthony made up years ago now, but it's something that's worth thinking about and noticing and working with, for lack of a better term. And at the end of the day, there's times that I would rather be playing in a certain way, if I had my druthers, but I'm playing with a group of people I like, and that everything seems to be working. We're having fun, for lack of a better term. We walk away satisfied from that situation. It's not that different than when I play styles of music in bands that I really don't like. I don't like country music very much. But if the other musicians are really digging it and the audience is really having a good time and digging it, then it's a fun experience. It's not something I'm going to listen to in the car on my way home. But, despite the fact that might not have been the musical experience that I would have chosen, it ended up being a very satisfying musical experience anyway because of the dynamics of the group, the band, and the crowd, Pretty interesting stuff. So how do I really play? Well, it depends. And I'll probably make some other videos talking about my journey as a role player and philosophy of play now versus my philosophy of play, years ago. But yeah, I play differently depending on who's there and what we're playing and why we're playing.